Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy and governance. I'm Hamza Idris. Conversation around the allegation of budget padding by the Senate to the tune of 3.7 trillion naira by suspended Senator Abdul Ningi will not fizzle out anytime soon, as critical stakeholders in the nation's polity continue to scrutinize and spotlight the 2024 appropriation of President Bola Tinubu, which has been subject of concern among Nigerians. While some view the suspension of the whistleblower Senator Abdul Ningi for 3 months by the Red Chamber as an attempt to cover a monumental legislative slice, others have been viewing the national issue through regional and ethnic lenses, reducing the narrative to a North versus South conundrum, with a view to derail Nigerians from the realities of the dangers allowing such questionable budgeting process to go unchecked. But Nigerians appear resolute in interrogating the budget padding claim by subjecting the 2024 appropriation to a closer look, especially in the face of another claim by a ranking senator, Jaribe, alluding to how some ranking members got a whopping 500 million naira constituency project supposedly financed through the proceeds of the alleged padding. It is against this backdrop we'll be engaging with a professor of political science, Kabir Mato, on the need to subject the budget padding claim to further scrutiny and demand for reform in our budget processes, or succumb to slanted media narrative and off the mic on the topical national issue. Professor, welcome to our program.
Thank you very much. Good evening.
Of course, Professor, join us via Zoom and we'll take a short break. Once we return, the conversation commences. Don't go away. Once again, Professor, thank you very much for joining us. Of course, you authored an article where you spoke at length on many issues regarding the padded 2024 budget. But I want to start with how you took the southern media to the cleaners. You are not happy that they kept mute over serious issue. Can you shed more light on this?
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigeria. Again. The southern media did not keep mute on the issue. Unfortunately, they began to sensationalize it and reduce it to the level of a north-south divide by painting a picture that Senator Abdul Ningi was raising the issue primarily because the current president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is Ahmed Bola Tinubu, a Nigerian of southern extraction, forgetting completely that about 70% of the votes that saw Tinubu to the presidential villa in Abuja actually were votes from the 19 northern states and the Federal Capital Territory. It's just about 30% of the total votes that he got, from the south, that took him to the villa. In the south completely, if you look at it, it was only in River State that President Tinubu made some, headway. But precise. So what I'm saying in essence is that by the time the news of the interview that Abdul Ningi granted to the BBC Hausa service, came to the limelight, many commentators, especially some, prescribed media outfit from the southwest part of this country, took it as a matter of not a national challenge, but as a matter, of a northern senator who was trying to be disgruntled and discredit perhaps a government that is run by or led by a president who is a Nigerian of southern extraction. And so this is one of the most unfortunate part of the debate that actually in the first place precipitated the decision of the Senate in order to cover its shame, deciding to use the suspension method as a way of silencing Abdul Ningi without necessarily looking at the very substance of the allegation that he has raised in that particular interview. And I want to believe that this is the most unfortunate thing that can happen to Nigeria. If anybody will lay claim, to the success of the President Tinubu administration, I think it is the largest segment of the Nigerian population that have voted for him rather than a few individuals who did not even participate in the electoral processes or fought tooth and nail to ensure that Tinubu did not win the election, now realizing all of a southerner or a Nigerian of southern extraction like them, and they are coming out, to challenge, allegations that, have all semblances of the truth. Otherwise, why will the Southwest press try to, sensationalize this issue and make it look as if it is a North versus South issue? And so the point I'm making is that the North that took President Tinubu to the Asarok presidential villa principally are not votes from the northern part of this country. So why should anybody from the North now stand, against that government that he or she has put in place? It's unfortunate, it's unbecoming, and this is a trend as far as the nature and character of rapportage in Nigerian politics is concerned from the beginning of it. In fact, from colonial Nigeria up to this moment, one would have thought that with the development that we have been undergoing over a long period of time, such attitudes and such, changes and shifts in the views of, critical comments by people from, especially from those sections that the leadership does not emerge from, should cease to be. And so as far as I'm concerned, those who made the issue take regional dimension are mainly, the Southwest press, which is very unfortunate. The Southern elites, Southwest elites and intelligentsia, which I can bet anything, principally 50, 60, 70% of them were roundly against the contest and even the election of, President Tinubu in March 2023. And today they are suddenly realizing that it is one of their own, and as such, they are not even allowing simple observations to be subjected to critical debate as far as a very sensitive issue in the Nigerian governance structure is concerned.
Exactly, and that is what I wanted to ask. Is it that Nigerians don't really have institution memory? Can we now just blame them completely? Okay. Because they believe that maybe during Buhari, with the exception of maybe newspapers and media houses like the Daily Trust, who stood, at the center of truth, that quite a number of columnists, even from the North, they supported Buhari when things were going wrong. So why are we now maybe blaming the South?
Well, I don't think if what you're saying is as well. You have probably a primary reason to say what you said. But I know that many of us who are of northern extraction also, during the time of President Buhari, came out very strongly and criticized a lot of his policies, among which was the issue of what appeared like lopsided appointment of mostly northerners, in very sensitive positions of government, and which again is a mistake that the administration of Bola Tinubu is also committing. But like I did say, in the case of President Buhari, if you look at the configuration of and the voting pattern that made him the president in 2015 and 2019, you will find that it was predominantly a northern vote with some patches from the southwestern part of this country. And so, again, even at that, the claim that Buhari's administration was also nepotistic in its pattern of appointment was subjected to severe debate when roles and figures of people that were officially appointed from the various geopolitical zones indicated that the Southwest had the largest number. There is one fundamental blunder that Nigerian elite seems to be making as far as the configuration of this country on the basis of the 6 geopolitical zone is concerned. One is that it is always assumed by an average Southwesterner, South-Southerner or Southeasterner that whenever someone from the North Central region is appointed, he is a Northerner. Whenever someone from the Northeast is appointed, he is a Northerner. Whenever someone from the Northwest is appointed, he is a Northerner. But they try to also put sharp distinction as far as those from the South, Southwest, and the Southeast, getting appointed into various positions of authority, as separate entities, from one another. So this is one of the mistakes that we make, and we continue to, shout on it. I do not think, yes, of course, you don't eliminate the possibilities of several people making comments on issues based on their individual preferences and idiosyncrasies. But on a general note, I think we have been fair, in our discussion of national issues, looking at it from a more broader perspective than what is going on. For instance, the issues raised by Abdul Ningi, it's not about the fact that the president is from the south or Abdul Ningi is from the north. I think it was about a study that was commissioned by competent consultants to review the nature of the body. And let me remind you of one thing. We have been told that this is the first time in the 24-year history of this civil administration in Nigeria where the budget or the bill, the appropriation bill, was sent to the National Assembly in bits and pieces, not as a package. Now, this has not been done before. Now, if this is the reality of what took place, then the possibilities of having some loose ends, such as the one that are being highlighted by Abdul Ningi, in my view, becomes very tenable. You don't submit a national appropriation in bit and pieces, ministry by ministry or sector by sector. It's supposed to be a volume. It's supposed to come in a bill, not in bills. And therefore, if you have them coming in this bit and pieces, it's possible that there could simply be human errors. There could simply also be, some fraudulent activities that are being committed, not necessarily by the members of Senate, not necessarily by the members of the House of Representatives, not necessarily the knowledge of the president or, the highest level of authority as far as the executive arm of government is concerned. But of course, we know that this is Nigeria, and we have a lot of our public servants that are criminally minded, that are criminally, that are inclined to criminalities, that could easily do this and get it passed through the Senate and the House of Representatives. And I would have thought, therefore, that the question or the allegation that Senator Ningi raised was a fundamental one that required to be investigated in the first place. But what I think the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is doing today is, first of all, trying to bury itself in shame, trying to, wipe away the statement simply because, its integrity is being called to question. Adults like me, for instance, that have been very closely related to the civil democratic era since 1999, are fully aware of the roles and responsibilities of each of the compartments, the organs, and the levels of government, that have participated in this country. I know, of course, the National Assembly, and I know specifically that the Senate has not been playing the role that it is supposed to play as a moderator in the national legislature. Remember, that's the role of the Senate. It's simply a moderator, and that's why Lagos and Kano states that have the largest population in this country will share the same number of senators, 3 each, with states with low populations like Bayelsa, like Gombe, like, and the rest of them. So the Senate is a moderator. It's supposed to be an institution that moderates the activities of the legislature in order, to reduce the barriers, minimum the fears of those who are minority units of the Nigerian Federation. And unfortunately, what the Senate has been, the response what has been doing in the last 24 years is more or less serving as a stock exchange, as an avenue where Nigerians, that are privileged to be elected will only go there and amass tremendous wealth for themselves. The history of the Senate, I think it's not anything to write home about. They should be ashamed of themselves. And let them take the mirror and look at themselves. If they don't like what they see, breaking the mirror will not change. This is the reality. But that is the reality. That is the view of average Nigerian, on the Nigerian Senate. Forget about all these sensations that are coming from, select elites, trying to use the issue of region, and section, to define simple, observation. In my view, this is an observation that requires, to be attended to. We are Nigerian electorates. We deserve explanation on any of such issues. Abdul Ningi, for God's sake, is not a novice. It's not an ordinary senator. It's not an ordinary legislator.
It's like, Prof, you have so much confidence about, Abdul Ningi. Why do you believe in him?
Well, I have so much confidence on Senator Abdul Ningi, especially because this is one of the few legislators who has been in and out of the National Assembly from 1999 to date. He's also different in the sense that he has been in the House of Representatives. He's also been now in the Senate. He's been out. He was in the House of Reps, then he was out of House of Representatives. Remember, Abdul Ningi was the leader of the House of Representatives between 2003 and 2007. And also remember that Abdul Ningi was a deputy leader of the Senate between 2003 and 2007. And in fact, Abdul Ningi was supposed to be the leader of the Senate. It was simply these issues of Nigerian national question that decided to put Victor Ndoma Eba ahead of him as the leader of the Senate. But with all these experiences, and if you know Abdul personally, you see that he's a man of good character in the extent that he is not a flippant personality. As an individual, he's not flippant. Talk less of, as a responsible representative of one of the largest constituencies in this country. So I do know that for Abdul Ningi to come out and make that allegation, the allegation requires to be listened to by the leadership and membership of the Senate and the critical segment of the Nigerian population, so that we can ask the Senate, review or ask experts that are concerned to review these allegations that Abdul Ningi is raising, so that we know the truth. Or otherwise, he's a human being. He can falter. He's not infallible. He's a human being, so he can falter. But we require that he should be. And like I said, if you know the character and personality, both as a private individual and a public official of who Abdul Ningi is, you will simply not disrespect or disregard this allegation he is making. And I am pretty sure, without digging into the records to see what has happened. And of course, even the corroboration by budget has completely agreed with the issues that Abdul Ningi has raised. Perhaps the only differences are at the level of semantics. The fact of the matter is that the budget is crafted in such a very faulty manner, and the National Assembly has passed it into law. The sense of maturity in any governance or administration is not measured in terms of your ability to simply take a decision no matter how wrong it is, and you realize that it is wrong and you continue to forge ahead. The maturity and sophistication of any particular government, be it executive or legislature, is when they take a decision and going forward, they realize that there are issues with that decision, they retrace their steps so that they correct it for the good of governance, for the good of the people, and for the good of the administration. And that's what every sensible Nigerian should expect. The Senate will behave rather than simply raising sheet of papers, by Ali Ndume on the floor of the Senate and saying that there is nothing like that allegation. I'm so disappointed with my friend Ali Ndume to have done that. But I know it is obviously a desire by a group or by a cabal, to cover up for a misdeed. Or you understand, and try to put a segment of it into what it calls probably a shame.
Prof, if one constituency had stood by Senator Ningi, nothing will happen to him. That is the Northern Senators Forum. Why do you think they threw him off the bus?
Yes, the Northern Senators Forum would have rejected Abdul Ningi's when perhaps the leadership of the Senate must have spoken to them. I know the unfortunate thing is that if you see the list of those senators who decided to stay out and first of all disown or disassociate themselves with what Abdul Ningi said, the only one among them that I'm surprised that has behaved like that is Senator Yaradua. Because this is a person that I personally grew up with. I know his integrity, I know his antecedents, I know what he can do. And like I said, you cannot simply throw out that allegation without investigating it and say, no, it is not true. What was the Northern Senators saying? They were simply saying that, no, they were not part of Abdul. They disassociated themselves with what Senator Ningi was saying. None of them was saying what Abdul Ningi said was wrong. Because they didn't have the audacity, they didn't have, the intellectual content to simply, denounce what he said. Because they have not investigated. They have not cross-checked to see whether what he said was right or what he said was wrong. So all this sub-regional associations that we see about, in any case, like I said, we are waiting. By the grace of God, 2007 is like the next hour. And all those that are standing away, on matters that affect the nation like this, they will come back to their constituencies. Our responsibility will be to continue to talk to our people, to enlighten them. There is no particular preference for any individual. It is about the common good. It is about our collective objectives as Nigerians of northern extractions, as representatives of our respective states, as representatives of our respective constituencies. So we need to do everything that is humanly possible. I'm not worried. I'm not disturbed, rather, that the 7 or 8 northern senators have decided to opt out or disassociate themselves with Abdul Ningi in the first place will have themselves, to blame by the time a thorough and proper investigation over this matter is conducted and the truth is known. And what I do know for sure is that Nigeria has moved to a stage that it is impossible for anybody at this material time to try to sweep such a very serious allegation under the carpet. It is not possible.
Yeah. Another senator said they all got, or most of the ranking senators got 500 million naira in terms of constituency allocation. And nobody is asking question. I mean, within the senators themselves to say, okay, where is this money coming from? Why do you think there is this grave silence among the senators? Okay, it's like we lost Professor Mato. We're going to short break to fix the issue. Welcome back, and we apologize for the connection glitch we witnessed. Yes, Prof, the question I asked was Senator Jaribe, spoke about 500 million naira allocated to some right senators, and at the end of the day, before the end of the session, he backtracked and said something different, which is neither here nor there. Who actually allocated that 500
million? If you do have anybody who is in the Senate and you ask him honestly to tell you about that, he will corroborate what Senator Jaribe said. And Senator Jaribe, as a ranking senator, is not just, a passerby that will stand up on the floor of the Senate and make that allegation at no regard. And you can see what happened. Typical Nigerian parliament, shut off the mic, keep quiet, and so on and so forth. It clearly shows, therefore, that, and in any case, the explanation that some of the senators are trying to give, as per the 500 million naira is so unacceptable to the extent that that is not the way and manner that constituency projects are even funded. That's not the way they are funded. Monies are not given to legislators, ab initio for them to go and do projects. Projects are done and financed and are paid through the regular processes. So the 500 million naira that each of these ranking senators was given to, as far as I'm concerned, was an act of bribery, was an act of corruption, and therefore it beholds on the Nigeria's institutions, the ICPC, the EFCC, that are in charge, and even the State Security Service, to wade into it and come up to tell Nigerians what actually happened. It means that it did happen. Why would a senator of the Federal Republic, simply because you are there twice or three times, be given 500 million naira, and somebody will come and tell us that it is constituency project? In the 24-year history of this civil administration, there was never a time that the Nigerian senator or Nigerian member of House of Representatives was doled out resources to go and carry out projects. That's not the way they do it. They do it through a more transparent and better organized manner. As far as I'm concerned, as far as several of us Nigerians are concerned, this again is another can of worms that has been opened by Senator Jaribe, and we also want it to be treated along with the allegations of Abdul Ningi in the same matter. And I think it's a simple matter. Simple matter in the sense that all these crises we are facing are actually attitudinal. Attitudinal in the sense that the legislators themselves have to resolve in their minds that they are elected to serve their people, not to serve themselves. They are elected to serve humanity, not to be served by humanity. And what is going on clearly shows that everyone that gets elected into the Senate is simply interested in going there to come out as billionaire or multimillionaire. Not even to talk about the obvious partiality, sectionalism, and all sorts of unprintables that you see even in the allocation of the so-called constituency projects. Why will the Senate President Akpabio have 18 billion naira as part of his constituency project in just Federal Ministry of Agriculture? And like Abdul Ningi said, some of the senators in their constituencies have more than 200 billion naira, and his own constituency but he has only 1.5 billion naira. I want Nigerians to take the statistics of the population of Bauchi Central that Abdul Ningi is representing and the population of the constituency of the Senate President and see what is the number and what is the disparity and what is the rationality in this huge disparity as far as the allocation is concerned. We voted for President Tinubu. We are the people who voted for President Tinubu. Why should we not enjoy? Why should other people who did not vote, simply because they found themselves imposed? What was the total score of President Tinubu in the senatorial district of Senate President during the presidential election? You go and check it. Go and check what the president got in Senator Abdul Ningi's constituency. Why should Senate President get over 100 billion or 200 billion naira on constituency projects in his own constituency, and Abdul Ningi is ending up with only 1 billion or 2 billion naira? It tells you the level. So when you speak, that means you are being an ethnicist or you are being a regionalist. In a democracy, you are shortchanged. A democracy that you are a fully participant, you are an active participant, and you are shortchanged. And somebody is saying because you are from the north and he's from the south. I think this is balderdash. And we have to revisit it, we have to review it. And like Alain Dume will always see, this is democracy. There are consequences and implications for every action that politicians will take.
Yes.
We are saying it now, you cannot intimidate us. Yes, we have the votes, we have the number. If you continue to change us, in 4 years, just like 4 hours, it will come back. We will change you. There's nothing wrong with that. Nobody is political party anymore.
Yes. Prof, when you look at the climax of that session, something happened.
Yes.
Not quite, a number of people monitor it. The Senate leader, it was at the climax of that debate that he introduced something. He said Abdul Ningi was actually playing a card simply because they want to bring out the Senate presidency to the north. All what he was doing was not actually altruistic. How gullible are Nigerians? Because suddenly when he said that, when you look at Twitter space and all that, the conversation changed. People now started, supporting Senator Akpabio, that Abdul Ningi and those supporting him were actually out to remove him as Senate president. Can we say Nigerians are so gullible?
Let me tell you something.
Change their thinking about existential problem.
Let me tell you something. A normal democracy, not the Nigerian democracy, a normal democracy, people like Akpabio will not be Senate president. Because the contribution of his region to the emergence of the federal government itself was grossly insufficient to have given him the credence to become president of the Senate of Nigeria. But because it's Nigeria, anything goes. And I'm surprised that Senator Bamidele Okpeyemi, a distinguished lawyer that I have had tremendous respect from, will stand on the floor of the Senate as its leader and make such statements that are unguarded. He's been in the House of Representatives for a while. He's been in the Senate for the second time. And I thought that he should have a fair understanding of the political geography of this country and its obvious consequences and complications. But Okpeyemi does not seem to have that. That statement was simply to evoke sentiments from principally the southern media establishments, and some of the elites. And that's why I'm saying that will not save them. It will not save them in the sense that if you do that, the implication is that by the time you pitch the South against the North, then of course you also change the direction of the North as far as its current and present thinking is concerned. So it is very dangerous for any political office. If Okpeyemi was speaking because he wanted to save Senator Akpabio, or he wanted to defend the government of President Bola Tinubu, he was doing so at great political consequences. And I think he should stay away from that. And not only him, anybody that is in position of authority that wants to manage, what is politics for that one? It's the ability to manage and reconcile interests. Now, this reconciliation of interests is what brings about politics and political intercourse. And so if those who are at the helm of affairs are unable to understand the rationality and the reason for why they are there, then I think it is most unfortunate for us all. Bamidele Okpeyemi, to say the least, was unfortunate to have made that statement. It's not about removing Akpabio. That's not the way previous Senate presidents were removed. He mentioned, I watched the particular program you are talking about. He mentioned that during Obasanjo, 5 Senate presidents came from the East. Yes, that was a disagreement on the part of the Southeasterners. In the 8 years that Obasanjo held for, every state in the Southeast produced a Senate president. That's an internal issue. And once it was agreed it was going to the Southeast, it remained there. After that, David Mark held for 8 years. There was no dissent, there was no... So, you see, even within the way we play our politics as a nation, there are traits, there are characteristics, there are also differences between the various regions. I do not expect, and I was so disappointed and disarmed by the time Bamidele Okpeyemi will come and say that it was a coup against the South. What will you mean? If the northern senators wanted, they would have put Abdulaziz Yari as their president. If it is a matter of number. But it wasn't a matter of number. Alain Dume led the campaign, to elect Akpabio as the Senate president. Now, why is Alain Dume He's from the extreme part of northeastern Nigeria. If it was a northern affair, he would have supported Abdulaziz Yari to do that. So for Okpeyemi to come up and say that, I think it's very unbecoming of a very respected political leader like him. And I think we deserve a lot of apologies from him. Those of us that are his friends will hold him responsible, if he does not apologize on that particular, simply because he wanted to save his seat. And that's not the way Senate presidents are removed. We have seen the way they were removed. We have seen the way Speaker Ete was removed. It is impossible for you to garner to such majority under a peaceful legislative atmosphere to remove a presiding officer. You can hardly do that. All the Senate presidents from the Southeast that had to leave were forced to leave. It was a political resolution that they left, not that they were impeached by the Senate. Same with Mrs. Patricia Eti. She was not impeached by the House of Representatives. She stepped down because of the inherent political pressure and the destabilization, that the House of Representatives was facing. So how will you present a simple issue of saying 3.7, 3.5, 3.7 trillion naira are not tied to any particular project in the budget? How does that got to do with removing a Senate president? And like I said, this may be simply an honest mistake on the part of the legislature. It could also be a honest, the executive itself does not seem to know that. It could be the work of certain few elements within the Nigerian bureaucracy that are at liberty to contribute to the budget, to have done that in order, to secure certain personal benefits for themselves. It may be it, but then we will not be able to know what the problem is actually unless this particular issue is subjected to a very thorough investigation. And what I'm saying is this, that we will hold this government responsible if it does not investigate that. We will hold the Senate also culpable if it does not actually investigate that, and the investigation has to be in public. We deserve to know, we deserve to see what is going on so that we know it is honest, it is transparent, and at the end of the day, Abdul may be wrong. He's a human being, like I said. He may be wrong. He's as he may be wrong. He may, might have misunderstood a few of the provisions, to have come up with a conclusion. But we really need to know what really went on. We really need to know what is going on and what is the truth of the matter. Any attempt by political bickering, by throwing mud, saying it is a North-South affair. What is the problem if it is a North-South affair? It's a future of politics. The North is a political reality. It's not a use. It's true. The South is a political reality. It's not a lie. We have states. Population is a reality. It's not a lie. Economic strength is a reality. It's not a lie. So why are we, when it is against us, we have a different definition for it. When it is for us, we have also a different definition for it. This is the reality that we are facing, with the Senate of the Federal Republic today. And I tell you again, with all sense of honesty and sincerity, that the Senate really needs to check itself. Its 24-year history has been a history of series of scandals, of series of misunderstandings, of series of things that are covered up and so on and so forth. And in a democracy, you don't allow this. You don't simply use your number to castigate one of your own for raising a simple issue. And I tell you that if you get to these centers one by one and you ask them to tell you in all honesty about what is going on, they will corroborate what Abdul Ningi is saying.
Now, Prof,
but then, of course, we wait. Yes.
Yes, we stumble on a document titled Fragmentation of the Budget. And I want to quote some aspects of it. It's a project categorization of insertions. When you look at it, it said projects in federal constituencies. 1,777, amounting to 218.63 billion. Somewhere they put lights. 1,150 insertions. You have project in senatorial districts, 1,308 insertions. You have boreholes, 427 insertions. Somewhere construction, renovation of community town halls, 58. Then education-related projects, 767 insertions. I mean, it's just there on the screen. Who is doing this, Prof? Who is doing this?
Well, you see, again, this is the problem. You can even see from this particular document there are several duplications. Several ambivalences. You said you are doing projects in constituencies, and then you are giving a lump sum. Then you are doing street light, you are doing boreholes, you are doing ICT. Are you doing them in the skies? Are you doing them somewhere outside the constituencies when you have projects in the constituency and you have a lump sum for it, and then you have this breakdown, health-related projects? What do you mean by health-related project? A budget is supposed to contain statements of details of intended action. Road construction and rehabilitation. Since when has the Senate, since when have the House of Representatives, all their members become road? What is the work of the Ministry of Works and Housing? What is the work of the Fed? We see the Minister of Work moving across the length and breadth of this country on a daily basis, looking at federal projects. Why would a senator go and build road? Why would a member of House of Representatives go and build roads? So it tells you the level of, under the table interactions and transactions that are going on within the legislatures. This is unacceptable. Nigerians should not accept this. It tells it marks pictures of inconsistencies and to be kind. I don't see why this still exists, and this only happens in our budget. Those who are giving examples of the United States, Senate, they should come and give us the evidences that United States Senator will do this garbage that the Nigerian Senate is doing. They don't do it. Not even United States. Go to Ghana. Ghana will not do this. Go to Benin Republic. They will not do this. Why is our own different? And then again, the painful part of all this issue, gentlemen, is that somebody is accused of committing a fundamental fraud and blunder within the national appropriations space. And the rest of the group are coming out, becoming the chanting crowd, shouting, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. Using all the mouthpieces that they can lay their hands on in order to be able to cover up for these substantial allegations that there is. And I'm ashamed of the northern senators. I'm highly ashamed of them. It's only Kaus Mela who stood behind, Abdul Ningi in this particular matter. It's not a northern affair. Jerry Bay is not from the north, he's from Cross Rivers. But he stood to also raise an issue in support of what Abdul Ningi said. It is a situation whereby you live in the same house and then you enjoy different preferences. Some are treated better than others. Some have more spaces than others. How can you tell me that Senator Fabio in his constituency has over 100 billion naira or 200 billion naira projects, and Abdul Ningi in Bauchi has 2 billion naira? Others are not touching. I don't know how much Yaradua has in Katsina.
Another issue we discovered while perusing the documents is that every senator, directly or indirectly, is either a chairman or vice chairman of a certain committee. And now, when you go to the line item of the budget, if somebody maybe is the chairman on, let's say, poverty alleviation or agriculture, even if the community he represents, what they do is basically not agriculture, you see a lot of projects relating to agriculture diverted to that, senatorial district. Or somebody who is in, let's say, Benue, but he is a member of committee on border community. You now see a lot of projects from border community domicile in Benue or in Plateau that have no any border with Niger, Chad, or Cameroon. Meaning that if you were to scrutinize this, there is no senator that is actually sincere in true sense of things. How do you think we can solve this problem in our nation building?
Let me be very brief with you in this case. What you have said simply explains one clear fact. And the fact is that it means that these monies that are voted for and allocated are not specifically for these projects. Everybody tries to allocate resources to where he can lay his hands on. It means, therefore, that the constituents, the electorate, the voters are not the priority of those that they have elected. That's the unfortunate thing. And I tell you that this is not new in the National Assembly. It started ab initio from the year 2000 with their first budget up till this moment. And it says a lot of things. And let me advise the Senate in particular that there is a need for them to up their games. There is a need for them to revisit the methodology and their ways of existence. Otherwise, They are taking that. And that's why many times you hear Nigerians coming up to say, look, what is the need of bicameral legislature? Scrap the Senate. The Senate has always been the victim of that. As a student of political science, I do know why the Senate is necessary. And I do know why the Senate should be there. To allay the fears of minorities in the alliance.
Is it really necessary in our situation? Is the Senate necessary?
Yes, it is, because it in the legislative discourse and arena in general, you require some moderation on what is happening. If it is above that, if it is only the House of Representatives that you have, then I can assure you that between Kano, Lagos, Kaduna, Oyo, and Rivers State, they can have sufficient number of members in the House of Representatives to pass any particular piece of legislation. That's the House of Representatives. But in the Senate, every state in the Nigerian Federation has equal number, 3. And so that serves as a moderator. And remember that the Senate is supposed to be constituted by Nigerians of very high expertise and experience, so that they will be able to moderate the legislative exuberance of the members of the House of Representatives. So the Senate is very essential. Our problem is not that the Senate exists, but it's what the Senate does when it is in existence. And as long as we don't take a curious look at that, and for the Senate to change, and because the Senate is not prepared to change until the rest of Nigeria coerce them into changing their ways. Change their ways so that they have to.
Sir, where is the missing link in recruiting those who go to the Senate? Is it that the laws are not really good? Because many see it as a retirement home, and that is why we are seeing all what we are seeing in the Senate. The bashing gets there more often than gets to the House of Representatives. Should we change the recruitment
not necessarily
of those who go to the Senate?
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. You can see that it was trying to become the retirement home of governors who are leaving office. But the elections in 2023 has confirmed to us that more than half of the governors that vied to become senators had lost the election. More than half of them. So it means that Nigerians are becoming increasingly aware of those to represent them. Now, the problem again is not about the recruitment. Yes, the recruitment process is there. But you see, that's one of the downsides of Western liberal democracy. The right of the people to elect the worst and leave the best. You cannot question that. You can have 2, 3 candidates that are vying for the same position in the same.
Hello?
Nothing that we can do about it at the moment, but I hope that by the time we continue in this process, we are just 24, 25 years old. Probably by the time we are 50 years old, a lot of waters must have passed under the bridge, a lot of awakening and enlightenment, and a lot of education on the part of the Nigerian voter, to such an extent that they will be able to determine and set agenda for those that are going to elect into this. I'm not sure we have gotten there yet, because senators, members of House of Representatives are just elected on the basis, and for now, the role of political parties is very important. We will get to a stage where we will reject political parties and vote for individuals. That tells you the level of political sophistication in any particular community, so that you will have a Senate and House of Representatives that will be constituted by people who have the interest of those that have elected them at heart, not those that are there simply because they want to make money. For God's sake, you have never had 10 million naira of your own, and by implication, you just got elected into the Senate, and then a dash of 400 million naira or 500 million naira comes into, apart from other very, very lucrative perquisites, that you are making as a senator. It tells you follows. You lose the interest of your people. You only buy maize, you buy machines, you buy shelf-saving machines, and so many other things. And periodically, maybe 2 times while you are there, and you go to your constituency, and then you launch them and you give people. And that is your own side of it. That's not why they sent you there. Okay. You're not supposed to build culverts. That's not why they sent you there.
Professor, another problem now is, obviously, Senator Ningi is the sacrificial lamb. what becomes of his constituents? They don't have representation now in the Senate. What can they do?
Well, it is the penalties that people pay through their representatives when such things happen. But I don't believe that Abdul is a sacrificial lamb. I know at the end of the day, he will come up triumphant. And no matter how much it is, and that's why I am saying that it is better for the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to realize the implication of the action of the Senate and call them to order immediately. Otherwise, these political consequences that people are talking about is not a joke. It's not a joke. You can just sit down there as a newspaper columnist for many years. You are used to criticisms, and then by virtue of the fact that you find your own in government now, and you are a senior special assistant or a minister or anything of that, and then begin to look at issues, from your own narrow prism. It's much more than that. The crisis, I assure you that at the end of this crisis, Abdul Ningi is going to come out triumphantly, unless, of course, if the Senate does a proper investigation, and then the truth of the matter is unveiled, and Abdul is found not to have told the rest of the nation the truth of the situation. But as long as it continues in this manner of covering up, then I tell you that Abdul will come out, stronger and the winner in all this exercise. And if you look through the social media, the events in the last 2 days have indicated the various problems that several senators...
When you said that the president should speak out, hello? Yes, when you said that the president should speak out, remember, immediately after the deal was done, that is suspending him in the Senate. The Senate president led other, allies to the villa. Up till now, we didn't hear what, happened, what transpired between them and the president. Don't you think that actually they are in cohort as to the fate of Ningi? I mean, the president and the Senate leadership.
I don't think so. But even if that is the case, that is unfortunate. But I don't think so. I don't really think so. Tinubu is a more experienced politician that Godzul Akpabio and Barauji bring and the rest of them in the Senate. And he will know the implication. He should know the implications of trying to cover up for these issues. And we have seen in the traces of his administration in the last 8 or 9 months that he took decisions that were rebuffed by Nigerians and he quickly changed. To me, this represents some good traces of leadership on the part of the president. But if he chooses to align with the leadership of the Senate in this very volatile national issue that is taking a lot of our attention and will continue to take a lot of our attention, then of course the president will be erring. And I hope he does not do that.
And finally,
I hope he does not do that.
Yes, finally, Nigeria, we are legendary, when it comes to ignoring or forgetting about serious existential problems. Immediately we have another issue. For instance, if something happens today, we all forget about, what happened in the Senate. How can this issue of budget padding remain, the front burner of public discourse until the truth surfaces?
What we will continue to press, the unjust suspension of Senator Abdul Ningi is another issue that several of us will continue to follow up on until the truth is unveiled. That's one. And secondly, what you said is absolutely true. That is why Nigeria today is the way it is. Today, a Nigerian naira, for you to buy a United States dollar, you require more than 1,600 naira. 1 year ago, it was not up to 800 naira. And we have not seen the worst of it. And if you check the history of governance and administration in this country, from 1960 to date, you realize that we have been progressively declining. When Garba Shehu told us sometimes last year that we are going to miss Buhari, I didn't take him serious. Because I did not believe that we can get deeper than we were. But where are we today?
Maybe
we cannot be seen.
Now saying Buhari should come back. Where is our Buhari, right? All right. It's like, all right, Professor Kabir Mato, thank you very much. It's like we have a glitch there at the tail end of the program. But we thank you very much for joining us via Zoom and for your informed perspective on this very important issue, budget padding. Of course, viewers will be interfacing with Professor of Political Science from the University of Abuja in the person of Kabir Mato. We hope you found the conversation engaging and informative. And be sure to join Daily Politics airing every weekday live and our special package on Friday, during which we open the telephone line for you to comment on national issues. Thank you for being with us. Bye-bye. I'm Hamza Idris.